Pakistan enjoys a strategic relationship with China. We are very clear that there are people who would qualify Pakistan as China's Israel. It is probably more a good analogy for American audience, because you do understand and appreciate the value of Israel for the United States. Pakistan and China has a lot in common in terms of the emerging threats within region. There are commonality on certain issues, for instance, one China policy, be it in Tibet, Xinjiang, Taiwan. We do share commonalities and share the stated goals that we would stand shoulder to shoulder with each other. And it is reciprocated by the Chinese side as well. Let me remind you when in 2013, around 2012 and 13, when many people around the Western capitals, they were predicting that Pakistan is a failed state and it's going to be dysfunctional soon. In that context, our Chinese friends intervened and they jumped in with a sizable project, which was a showcase project of their basic BRI initiative known as CPAC. And from there, the confidence and the positive, I would see the feeling in the market initiated that this is not the case, that Pakistan is a dysfunctional, dystopian state becoming one. And the revival, the economic revival initiated from that point. We got infrastructure development projects, our port development started from there, energy interventions, sustainable energy interventions projects were initiated, and we have realized its first phase. Now we are transforming to its second and then long-term third phase of these projects. I feel we have a lot of potential for trade and economic activity with each other, because it's next door 1.5 billion population, which is friendly, which is receptive. There are areas of gaps in which we can trade more with one another, though at the moment it is very much underinvested. Our relationship has a lot of potential to improve. Strategically, we have always sided with each other. When I'm explaining and talking about the positive bonding between China and Pakistan, we do appreciate and understand at the same time that there's a misperception at a global scale or at a regional scale that there is an adversary or maybe hot pursuit between two great powers of United States and China. We don't see that happening. We don't see that happening at all. We do see a sort of economic competitiveness between the two great economies, between different civilizations. Yes, we do see that there is a mid-sized entities within our region and beyond our region, which has incentivized this paranoid and insecure situation between the two huge powers. And if they do not exploit on that, there wouldn't be enough attention for flirtation. And the so-called containment of China policy, which has become jargon for the people mostly on the center of the right here in US or on European continent. When this policy of containment of China was started somewhere in early 90s, it was what, 8th or 9th largest economy of the world. Now, as we speak, it has become the second largest. And probably within few years, the dragon would be the first largest economy of the world. So what do we do with this containment policy? Has it worked? Is there any alternate governance competitive system which needs to be altered or changed? And if that doesn't realize, my own humble assessment is that containment policy would convert into engagement of China. And this entire strategic calculus which we are seeing right now would be morphed and it would be changed. And all the pertinent questions which it seems to be pointed at Pakistan and our relationship with China would alter. And probably we would be witnessing the 1971 era when Kissinger flew to Islamabad and did a rapprochement with China through Pakistani capital. So I do see an opportunity that there is an engagement economically, politically, socially of China, and Pakistan would be partner in that journey.
Prime Minister, I think some of us would say that we did not have a containment policy in the 1990s. I would say in the Bush administration, we did not have a containment policy of China during our 8 years. And the Biden administration would say they don't have a containment policy of China now. So in some sense, I think some of your comments are maybe a little troubling to the American audience. I want to ask you something, and then we're out of the end of time, but I think it's very important to say. Given what you said about China, are there limits to the Pakistani-China relationship? In particular, maybe limits in terms of security cooperation or military cooperation? Because Pakistan is a major non-NATO ally of the United States, and we think that must mean something. And so I guess I would ask you, just in closing here, if you would say a word about, are there limits that you see in the relationship between Pakistan and China, and particularly in the area of security?
Well, Pakistan is a sovereign and independent country when it comes to security and strategic issues, when it would involve its and would have implications for its own population. Our top priority is Pakistan. And it would limit and it would guide us that we exercise all our options in the best of our own interest. But what I was referring to is there's tons of literature available. Probably Western academia is talking about. Probably some policymakers are talking. It may not be the government's official position, but it's a well-entrenched position in Western universities, in Western capitals, from think tanks, and everyone talks about this idea of containing China in a very open and candid manner. So that's where I borrowed and initiated my own analysis on the situation. It was not just to make uncomfortable any audience. But as far as the strategic and security policy choices are concerned, Pakistan always would prefer its own interest, while viewing and having a balance and giving priority to our strategic partner, China. Its legitimate interest would always be an area which we would be considering perpetually.